Here in front of me, we've got two different batteries from the same brand, REDODO. One is a 100 amp hour Group 31 size battery that I've had for over a year now, and I use on my current solar system. And the other is this brand new, newly released 165 amp hour from REDODO. Now, as you can see, physically, they are the same size. So what's really cool is that in the same size case, they've managed to fit an extra 65 to 70% extra battery capacity. Now, this is definitely really cool if you're looking for something that needs to be space efficient in where you're living. And we're going to get into all of the different details in this video about comparing these two batteries side by side. Later on, I will be doing a full review on this 165 amp hour battery. So definitely stay subscribed for like part 2 of this video, where we get into all the details about testing out the BMS, going into detail about the battery capacity test that I did on the 165 amp hour battery, and questions that people might have about using a 165 amp hour battery. Questions like, can you run a 2000 watt inverter directly from a 165 amp hour battery like this? A long story short is that yes, you can run a 2000 watt inverter with this battery. However, there is a nuance to it which I'd like to explain, so definitely stay tuned and keep an eye out for that full review coming out on the 165 amp hour battery. So for a bit of context, I'd like to explain why I was even interested in getting a 165 amp hour battery. Even though this battery was sent out to me to be tested, I still was genuinely looking for a larger battery capacity. Now, in my cabin, I live in an off-grid cabin in the woods. One of the things that I really wanted to improve was the single 100 amp hour battery that I use to run all of my DC appliances in my cabin. So that means anything running on the 12 volts, anything like my laptop, which uses actually the DC power to run directly off the battery. This includes my fridge, lights, charging phones, tablets, and anything else that's running on direct power, so DC power. Perhaps you're in the same situation as I am, where you've had your 100 amp hour battery for 1, 2, maybe 3 years, and you're thinking about making an upgrade. So right off the bat, you're going to notice that the capacity difference is wildly different. It's important to mention that right now, REDODO are going to be doing a Black Friday sale, and I think it's going to be extended out almost till December, so you definitely want to have a look at that. I'll leave some affiliate links down below and my coupon code to get you a decent price on one of these batteries. Now, keep in mind, when I'm talking about the numbers and the cost per watt and all this stuff I'll get into, all of these numbers are coming from the current Black Friday price sale. So right now you can get the 100 amp hour for $184, I believe, and the 165 amp hour is going for $270. So depending on your budget, you might want to go for one versus the other. However, there are some nuances that you definitely want to consider. Cost per watt is 12.8 cents per watt hour with the 165 amp hour, and with the 100 amp hour you're getting about 14.4 cents per watt. So you're basically already right off the bat, if you buy these brand new, you're going to get about a 10 to 11% better value when you're going for the 165 amp hour. Now, obviously, we will need to mention the fact that they are two different weights. So I believe that the REDODO is 9.8 kilos when I personally weighed it myself, and the 165 amp hour, I got a reading of 15.3. I believe it weighs 20 pounds for the 100 amp hour Group 31 size. 165 amp hour is something around 33 pounds. You will notice that they're the same size factor, but one is more energy dense than the other. It's literally got 65 to 70% more capacity than the 100 amp hour. The 165 amp hour battery is about 7 to 9% more energy dense than the 100 amp hour. Now, with that extra battery capacity, many of you might be wondering, what kind of run times can you get on various different devices that you might have? So my battery capacity tests, which I did on a previous 100 amp hour mini from REDODO and this 165 amp hour battery, I got roughly 170 amp hours out of the 165 amp hour battery, and in my previous test with a 100 amp hour mini, I got 101. So long story short, this means that you can run continuously 125 watts roughly for around 10 hours on the 100 amp hour, and on the 165 amp hour you can run it for around 17 hours at around 125 watts continuously. So you're getting an extra 7 hours of runtime with the 165 amp hour battery. And just so people are aware, on both of my battery capacity tests, I was pulling around 10 amps continuously for those tests. So long story short, you're getting 2,100
180 watt hours from the 165 amp hour battery, which is great to see. And then you're getting about 1200 to 1300 on the other, almost close to 900 watt hours more capacity out of the same footprint, the same size. Another feature I was really looking forward to try out on this 165 amp hour battery is the fact that it's got Bluetooth in it. So essentially what you do is you download an app on your phone, and then you're able to connect to your battery, and then you can monitor the state of charge, the SOC. And you can also monitor how much power is coming out, how much power is coming in. The Android one, I did eventually get my app to work. I will say that there are a few quirks that need to be sorted out with the app. However, I really like the design of the app. It's very clean, simple, easy to use. It looks really nice to read all of the numbers. You just want to consider the fact that if you want to use their dedicated app, you will need to give them an email address to sign up. You might want to consider that, or you might want to try and use a third-party app. Another nice thing with this 165 amp hour battery is that you've got a 165 amp BMS inside. Now, what this essentially means is that when you're connecting it up to an inverter, or you're just simply drawing power out of it, 165 amps is the maximum that you can continuously take out of the battery. I can confirm that it can handle 165 amps. There are some nuances that I would like to explain in more detail, perhaps in the review, but something to keep in mind is that when you see 2100 watts that it can draw out, like that's what the BMS can handle when it's pulling power out, keep in mind that's on the DC side. Now, when you're using an inverter and an AC inverter, you are going to get some conversion losses. So you might want to run around the 1900 watts or so on a 2000 watt inverter to keep the amperage around 160 amps. That's still way higher than what you can get with just a single 100 amp hour battery. In terms of the build quality, you can already see that the batteries are identical. There's no difference in that. They're very high quality. Use a plastic shell to hold everything in, which is actually waterproof, by the way. And actually, the batteries share a lot in common. The main difference is you're getting more cents per watt. You're getting more capacity out of the same space. That is the main thing that we can see. There is a low temperature protection, which is great to see as well. And you've got a larger headroom when you're using your BMS. All in all, I can definitely see that this is an upgrade worth considering and worth going into. Have a look at the links down below in case you're interested. You can have a look at my full reviews coming out soon. I'm going to be doing a full review on the 165 amp hour battery. So don't forget to subscribe, like, do all that fun stuff, and I hope to see you in a future video.